Unidos Now in Tampa Bay. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about what it's like to be undocumented in this country. Myself and my family are still currently undocumented. I'm originally from Mexico, the capital, Distrito Federal, and I came at the age of 3 with my mother, my father, and my older brother. Honestly, one of the first memories I have as a 3-year-old coming into the States is being terribly afraid. I remember when we first crossed into Texas, one of the very first memories I remember is my family being happy that we had made it, we had survived, we had crossed, and so it was just like this joy of like, okay, we made it, we're safe. And then almost instantly I was like, oh, you know, yes, we're good. And almost instantly it was taken away. They were like, no, now we have to watch out for cops and for anyone that might want to take us back to poverty, to the crime-infested city that we were staying in. And so almost immediately I was thrown into this world of hiding, of keeping my status hidden from people, from friends, from family, from teachers, from anyone really. It developed way into my, growing up, into middle school, into high school. I never was ever open about my status, and so when it came time to graduate and pursue higher education, a lot of doors closed on me. I had a lot of trouble trying to find a way into college, and this was very depressing for me as an 18-year-old wanting to, be a psychologist and help out my community and grow as a person, and be an educated person. It was very devastating for me. And so I took a semester off. Well, I had to. I didn't really know what to do actually. And I started just asking questions. I started asking friends and just my family members, how can I get into school? Like, what do you think what can I do? And it was then that they introduced me to a friend who was also undocumented. She was more open about her status, and she was at HCC. And so I reached out to her, and we were able to find a way for me to get into college. Shortly after that, we began a group called Unidos Now in Tampa Bay, which was focused on empowering immigrant youth in our community. We were wanting to reach out to other undocumented students like ourselves, because we knew we weren't the only ones in Tampa Bay who were going through this problem, and so we wanted them to come out of the shadows as well with us. And now successfully all of our youth that are part of Unidos Now in Tampa Bay that are of age are in college, either at HCC or at USF. But when the group started, it was predominantly around youth, but we always had our parents there, whether it was because they were giving us a ride or because they were just interested in what their kids were getting into. They were always a part of our group. And so it evolved into a huge family. We would come out every Sunday, and we would have this meeting where we would inform ourselves of what was going on in the community and what we could do to come together to stop deportations and pass laws that were beneficial to our families. I believe in November was when we officially took a stand as not just dreamers, and not just standing up for undocumented youth, but standing up for our entire families and bringing our parents with us. And so I really wish my mother didn't have to work right now, so she could come and talk to you about her experience as a mother, as an undocumented mother in this country, because I believe that's way more powerful than my story. But just for me to share a little bit about my parents, they both worked extremely hard. My dad has always had 2 jobs, and my mom, she's always been really eager to learn. And I think that's where I get my passion to go into school and stuff, because when we first got to the States, her #1 priority was to learn English. She immediately enrolled into school. It took her about 8 years, but she was able to successfully learn English, learn to read and write it. She got her high school GED, and even went on to HCC to get her associate's degree in social work. Since then, she hasn't been able to continue her education because she can't afford it, and now it's a little bit harder for her to continue having to raise her children and having to work and provide for her family. And this is something that is really hard for me to see, having to see my mother work in packing houses and warehouses, really laborious work that is very very honorable, that it's much needed. However, I know that my mom is capable of doing a lot more, and I know that she wants to do a lot more. I know my father is getting very tired of having to work those 2 jobs, having to come home and not see his children and not spend time with us. On top of that, them both still living in fear. About 2 weeks ago, my father was pulled over for driving without a license, and it was the first time in about 13 years because he got really good at like spotting cops. It was almost like he could feel them, but it was kind of like bittersweet because it was funny because I was like, oh, you can like spot them, you can like feel them, but at the same time it was because he had this like always present fear of being pulled over, being taken away from his children, and so he got really good at like observing his surroundings. And 2 weeks ago, he was pulled over and had to take off a couple days of work because he was so afraid to keep driving, having just been recently pulled over. He was fined almost $400 for having to drive without a license, and he was actually on his way back from work. So it took a really huge hit on our family. It was kind of like, you know, this whole time we've been trying our hardest to be, you know, people who contribute to this country. You know, we pay taxes, we are, you know, churchgoers, we go to school, we try to do our best, and here we are still continuing to have to live in fear after so many years. So we are actually now having to partner, like Marisol mentioned, with Dream Defenders, the ACLU, with other community organizations to push for licenses for all. That would be huge for our community, but it wouldn't be enough, of course. Also, in June 15th of last year, President Obama passed Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which is beneficial to people like myself. We were able to apply and receive a permit, a work permit, and with that, in the state of Florida, we can get a driver's license. But that still doesn't cover my parents, and that still doesn't give me any path to legalization. And so we're really working to push for immigration reform this year. And we've been working very hard in District 15, which is where our district is, pushing Dennis Ross, who has been always very anti-immigrant, pushing him to say yes to a pathway to citizenship. And I encourage all of you to not only call a your district representative here in Tampa, but also to reach out to people like Dennis Ross, who are making it very hard to keep my family together. Like, you know, we're all here now. Immigration reform, it's time for that now. It's time for our families now. So thank you so much.